Well, he's a young man that hails out of Alveda, Ohio. He's a multi-generation driver. We're talking about Creed Kemenah in car number 15K, talking about his incredible story of how he got into racing from quarter midgets to micro sprints to 305s and then eventually to 410s in 2023. Talking about both grandparents that were some pretty historic car owners, as well as what the plans are in 2024. That's coming up next on the Dave's Home Supply Getting Up to Speed podcast after these messages. Dave's Home Supply specializes in cabinets, flooring, and countertops. Visit their website at daveshomesupply.com to look at products, services, financing, and even a free estimate. Are you looking for bookkeeping, payroll, or income tax services? Then check out the folks at For You Simple Bookkeeping. They are a licensed tax preparer throughout the entire United States. For more information, click on the link in the description. Well, it's Black Friday here in 2023 on the Dave's Home Supply Getting Up to Speed podcast, but most importantly of all, it is a young gentleman's birthday. Happy birthday to Creed Kemenah joining us. Creed, great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
I know it's probably been a couple days. You're probably still in recovery mode for Thanksgiving, but I hope you're all energized for celebrating your birthday as well.
Yeah, it was a good birthday. Just got back from Top Golf. So it was a good surprise this morning.
Nice. That I've never did it, but it looks very enjoyable.
It was my first time. It was a blast. I love golfing as it is, but yeah, it was fun.
It looks like one of those deals where, like, what I used to like to do to take stress out is I would go to the batting cages, and I'm not good at golf, but I like hitting a ball really hard, so maybe that's some good therapy.
Yeah. I like I said, I've never been there. Luckily, everyone says, like, try to get up on one of the upper decks. I think we were on the middle deck, but yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, 2023, it's came to a close for racing pretty much in the United States. There's still a couple things going on. But for you guys were able to make 24 features, post 8 top 10s and 4 top 5s. But you guys grabbed a couple of wins this year, both with the NRA Sprint Invaders at Lima Land Motorsports Park in Lima, Ohio.
Yeah, I think it was a up and down year for sure. We had some kind of misfortune, maybe our own fault a little bit. Blew up 2 engines there with the 410. That'd have been, I don't know, probably a little before halfway on in the season, which I think it really set us back. But, looking back on it, I think it actually turned out to be a bit beneficial because I think it boosted my confidence a lot just in the race car. And I think it helped me and my dad work together in, just gel overall way better, be able to run the 360. And, I think it slows everything down. And I don't know, I think, not that you ever want to blow up engines, but I think it may have actually helped us a little bit sometimes.
Well, yeah, and kind of, as a team, you have obviously the highs of highs, right? You have good runs and you have good outings, but you also, this is a very humbling sport. One night you could win, the next night you're trying to figure out how to load up your car in the trailer. But it's good that you guys were able to kind of have that bonding moment as sort of, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but at a low point.
Yeah, and I think you got to be able to get through those lows to have the higher highs, and I think that's an overall life concept. That's not just racing, and I think anyone that does anything in a high level will tell you that the lows are probably way lower than the highs are. That's just what it is. It's relating it back to golf. If you're a PGA Tour player, you're only going to win 5% of your starts. Racing, like, you could have a good year and you might not win a quarter of the races you start. And
sure.
I think that's what makes our sport so much different than a football game or something like that.
Yeah, Steve Kinzer, you look at his winning percentage, it's kind of like one of those Babe Ruth numbers of, Babe Ruth only hit the ball, 3 times out of 10, and Steve Kinzer on his really good years, he wasn't winning 100%, he wasn't even winning 60%, even though he had some really, really solid years. Yeah,
I think the years where Donnie put up 25 wins or 30 wins, that's crazy impressive if you're racing, say, 80, 85 times a year. But that's probably some of the craziest stuff. I guess I don't know much about Steve numbers. Just I not growing up in that era. I don't know. You could probably tell me what was the most Steve ever won in a year.
Oh gosh, I think. Oh man, you really put me on the spot. I know like 87 was a huge like. Oh gosh, no. I want to think there was one year he won 40 races.
And that's unheard of. There's not a like. There's not a 20-time champion in anything. Closest guy is that Joey Chestnut hot dog guy. That's about the closest we can think of.
Well, and it's one of those deals too with you think about all that success, and you got to think that everybody that was showing up, how kind of, because I come from a wrestling background of, you have a guy that wins all the time, how mentally you go in of like, how am I going to be, Carl Kinzer and Steve Kinzer, that combination was just so lethal when it came to winning races.
Yeah, it'd almost be in the sense that you have yourself beat before you're even there.
Yeah, and this is a really mental sport too when you think about it. Like wrestling, I was always told it's 90% mental, 10% physical, which I mean, I would debate that sometimes when I was actually doing it. And but I mean the same thing with racing. If you're in a bad mental state, like a negative state, like what are we doing here? Kind of not having fun. Might as well just pack up. You're not going to win.
Yeah, and I think the pulling in and having yourself beat too is what I guess more recently what we've seen with Larson. I guess it would be the COVID year, the year after COVID, or what? I'm not sure what year that would be. I mean, literally, if you saw Kyle Larson in the Silver 57 pull into a race, we were all thinking about who's going to run second.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he was. I mean, even still now these days, like he rolls in and it's like, oh boy, the order got hard.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. I think like when I don't know. I guess some of the guys that I would categorize like that. I think Rico's turned over kind of the next tier of like, not that obviously Rico is incredible as it is, but like when Rico and Ricky are at a race, like, I mean, you're thinking that is the guy to beat. That's one of the guys to beat. I mean, he was on fire to start this year for sure.
Okay, so I pulled some numbers up for you. 1987, Steve Kinzer made 89 of 92 World of Outlaw shows. He won 51 times, and 81 times was, what is that, top fives, and then 84 top 10. So we only finished out of the top 5 times. And then 91, I think this is where I was getting confused. 91, there was 94 events, 94 starts, 43 wins, 82 top 10s. I mean, if you get 43 top 10s, you're having a really good year.
Yeah, for sure. I think across the board, I think if you could ask anybody, I mean, I know I would kill to win 5 features next year. I mean, I was lucky enough to win 2 this year, and I would say this would be my first full year where we were competitive and traveling. I mean, this is our first full year in the 410. I know that it was kind of cut in half with the engines and stuff, but I don't know. I'm really thankful that we were able to pick up 2, because that definitely put me back in a frame of mind where, oh wow, I really want to go racing every weekend, or oh wow, I feel like I can do this again. And sometimes I think you get in a spot where you're kind of scratching your head for a while, and I mean, those doubts definitely do creep into people's minds. That's just part of it. You gotta understand that you're gonna have the lows for sure.
Well, and I think it's important too, like, going back to you and your dad, like bonding and becoming closer, because it would be so easy for one of the two of you, or even both of you at the same time, to just freak out and lose it, right? But instead of that, you guys came together of, like, okay, we're going to get through this. This is a part of it. This is a part of growing up, part of learning how to walk. Sometimes you fall down and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, like, that is like where you see the guys in the Outlaws, like, where there's just that there's outlaw speed. And I think you could probably ask anybody this, and everyone would vouch for this if you've been to a wing sprint or race. There's local speed. There's I guess it would have been all-star speed. It's not all-star speed anymore.
Sure.
And then there's outlaw speed. When the guys have outlaw speed, and I feel like a lot of that comes from like them guys like there for a while, like pretty much my whole time growing up, there was never a change in the 15 crew. The
Mm-hmm.
TSR crew was always the same. I think everybody just gets gelled and you get in such a rhythm that nothing breaks it.
It's like a music band. That's really good.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, and then this to throw back to what we were talking about with numbers. Steve Kinzer did kind of fall out of the seat and have a slump in 90, and he only won 39 times. In 92, he won 38 times. So I mean, I don't know what was happening. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think
insane
Carl was probably threatening to unbolt his seat. So,
for sure.
but yeah, no, I mean, harmony is a big thing, especially when you're racing a lot, right? There's a stretch there in July, even in June as well with Ohio Speed Week when it traditionally has been ran, where you're on the go like bing bang boom. It's more nights off are it's more like when are you racing versus when are you not racing versus I'm going Friday Saturday or Friday Saturday Sunday. It's Tuesday or something is my day off. So
Yeah, I think growing up too, that's one thing I'm like super thankful that I was able to do. Is obviously my dad was still racing at the time and Hunter car, the 10H and stuff, and I was blessed with the opportunity to be able to go and do Speed Week with them a few times. I remember, I think it had been like 2016 Speed Week. We won the Speed Week championship and stuff, and 2017-18 we did all Speed Week, and then God, it would have been, I don't know if we ran all of Speed Week in 2019 or not, but my racing kind of got shoved over to the side a little bit, which I know I look back on it, it kind of makes me mad sometimes that maybe I feel like I'm a little bit behind in where I should be with like running the micro. I mean, I know it's long past and stuff, and I think that I've made progress to sort of catch up in a way and feel like I'm getting back in a rhythm. But like, it was super hard being, I mean, I'd have been like 13 or 14, maybe 12 even. And to get in a rhythm, if I was only racing maybe once every month because my dad was racing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and do you look at it on the flip side of the coin too, by you going to all the races with your dad? Maybe you weren't in the driving sense learning a lot, but you were able to learn a lot how to work on a race car, how to be on the road, to condition yourself for multiple nights of racing night after night.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any substitute for seat time, but you could borderline make an argument that once in a while it's good to step back and
Mm-hmm.
watch from the outside in. I mean, there's so much stuff that as a driver, if you go, not saying that you should quit your racing and go help
Sure.
somebody else you can, but if you take a step back, sometimes you can see so much more. It's like coming off the floor in a basketball game or coming off the field in a football game. I mean, it's kind of that same deal. It's like you're just from a different perspective. You can judge so much more and see what people are doing. You see, oh, I would have did this, or wow, if he would have did this, then that guy couldn't have crossed him over, and then he could have blocked the slider there. It's just kind of the racecraft. Everybody uses that word.
Well, and yeah, I've always wondered, and I've been fascinated, and you've given me some good insight of kids that are coming up, but their dad races. And when I say their dad races a lot. And, Lance DeWeese, I think, is a pretty good example. His son, micro sprint driver, who's running a lot. And he, it's one of those things where, you can just hear that he's torn, right? Like he loves racing sprint cars, but his kid's like getting in a good rhythm and stuff. And he's kind of missing out on that. So it's gotta be tough.
Yeah, I always kind of felt bad for my dad in that because, I mean, not necessarily that you'd want to say, oh yeah, I'm at the end of my road, but I mean, he is obviously a little bit older. He's I think he's 51 now, right now.
Sure.
So he's been late 40s there, and I know he really wanted to go racing like super, super, super bad. But obviously, that when you're still in your own career, you I guess you just can't give up on that sometimes, and that's his passion. That's his love. I mean, if he could right now, he'd still be racing. That's 100%. And he might say he's not, but I don't believe that for a minute. And I think going to the races, like all the time as a kid, like my own racing, I'm saying it was me and my mom, and then my grandpa, which is Bob Hampshire, her dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a good and bad thing. It was good for the fact that when we went with my mom, it was like you couldn't really stay mad for a whole lot because it was. I mean, there's just no kid goes to the races and their mom's their crew chief.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
No.
a whole different vibe to the night for sure.
Well, and you touched on something was really cool is what's unique about you is you've got racing in your blood, not just from your dad,
Yeah,
as
both.
well, your uncle, but both grandfathers were car owners, and not just, some local person that, only ran one track. Some pretty prominent drivers drove for him. Actually, your grandpa Harold and then your grandpa Bob, as you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
Jack Hewitt drove for both of them at one time.
Yeah, yeah. I remember just obviously hearing stories growing up about some of the crazy stuff that Hewitt would do. Like you don't even think about it, but that was a real person. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like obviously in my family, like Jack Hewitt is looked at like, I mean, just as like a aura, like a legend hero,
Sure.
like wasn't even real. Like, I don't know. I think it's awesome though that I'm in the spot where I can pretty much look anywhere, and like I have great teachers around me. I'm like crazy thankful for that.
Oh, no doubt. And, it's just, I mean, just all the history there. And, you got JW Hunt that was, integrated with the Hampshire car, which, you just say Bob Hampshire or Harold Kemenah and people just go, whoa, I know who that guy is.
Yeah, and then on the Kemenah side, having Fred Linder there too. That Fred was one of the original guys. Him and Jack. It's a cool look, and like I feel like we know a lot of people in a lot of different places, and I think obviously down the road that is going to be beneficial just having a family like that. I mean, you can't substitute something with connections that you've already had.
Well, and he's related to Mike and Stephanie Linder, right?
Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure how that is. I know it's through, that would be through like cousins. So I think Fred's brother is the one that they're directly related to. So yeah, it would be something like that. I'm not 100% sure on that, but
well, and I mean, that family is prominent to me, in nowadays,
right.
because they've helped so many people, like young drivers. And I'm a West Coast guy, and there's been a lot of guys that have came through there that they've helped. The Macedo brothers, Buddy Kofoid. Yeah. It's just really cool how, despite you and them and I, we're halfway across the country from each other, but there's still that connection there. And then through your grandpa Harold, the Hodenshield family, the Jacobs family, Kenny Jacobs, and it's just it's wild. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, overall, if there's one thing I've ever learned just being involved with racing, and I think it's all walks of racing. It's not only, dirt oval, sprint car racing, modified, late model, whatever you're doing in midget, NASCAR. It's all one big family. It really is. I think every walk of racing might have their each individual family, but at the end of the day, everybody's just one big family.
It is. There's people that they like drag racing more than they like circle track, and it's the same language. I look at it, it's just a different branch or a different dialect, and it's kind of its own language, but still the mother tongue is 4 tires for the most part. I mean, I like speedway motorcycle racing, but tires and engines and going fast.
Yep, need for speed.
For sure. Well, kind of how did everything start with you? I mean, how is that pitched to you as far as getting your racing career started? I mean, you hinted on it that, Dad was racing full time and running a lot, former World of Outlaw racer, one of the, most decorated All-Star Circuit of Champions title holders. I guess just tell me how that story went.
Yeah, I mean, actually growing up, it'd be the opposite of what most people think. My mom absolutely did not want me to race. That was a 100%. She did not want that to be what I wanted to do. She wanted me to go, be a regular kid, and if I chose that later down the road, maybe. But
Uh-huh.
we had a family friend build a I don't even know what you want to call it. It was more of like a yard cart type deal. I would have been probably maybe 4 or 5, and I used to just running into everything, just drive around the yard and just tear up in circles, and then eventually we built a track out in our backyard, which we still have now today. Sometimes I get some buddies out here and we'll have go kart races on it. It's pretty fun. It's cool. It's banked. Got some tractors for it. So we just kind of messed around like that for a few years, and then actually my first ever like organized competitive race. I'm sure you know who this is, Andy Potter.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was a crew chief for the Ceiling '97.
Yep. Yeah. So Andy Potter, his daughter raced quarter midgets. I think her name's Ansley. He had an extra cart, and then we ran at the Hog Barn down in Columbus, and I won my first ever race down there. That was really cool. Then that started the quarter midgets. So I'd been, I think, 7 or 8 then. I'd been, I think, 8. And then we did quarter midgets for, I think we only did quarter midgets for a year and a half. We did one big year, and then we ended up doing the it was the USAC dirt series, but it was separate. I don't know how it is now. There used to be a dirt and a pavement. I'm not sure how it is for him now.
Okay.
But we did that, and then we ended up finishing in the top 5 in points and still missed the race. So I think we did pretty good in that. And then I went to a junior sprint, and then we ran those in Indiana and stuff. So we were in Indiana racing like pretty much every weekend. Me, my mom, and my grandpa for 7 years, I think, is what we did. 6 years in the micro, a year in the junior sprint. We raced like 30 times in the junior sprint and won 16 of them. So we didn't do too bad in that.
Wow, that's really good.
Through the micro, we ran restricted for, I think, 2 years. I think we ran restricted for 2 years. My first ever race in a micro was the Tulsa Shootout.
Oh, way to start it out.
Yeah, and then listen to this. I draw a 7 and started on the front row.
Well, how'd you do? Did you use the 7 well?
I think I was probably God, I'd have been on the tail by halfway.
Oh, okay.
It went like it was the first race. I mean, like I wasn't like out of control. But
sure.
Obviously, first race for sure. There was definitely a speed when all them kids. I remember who was in my heat. I think Trey Groff was in my heat race. I think that's who it was. Somebody started next to me, and I mean, he's absolutely just took stickers right off the side of the car. I'm like, this is different, man. I'm like, I got to step my game up.
Sure.
But so we did that for 2 years, and then A class, we ran that for a good 2 years, and then we were going to do 2 years in the Outlaw. No, we only did 1 year in A class. Our first year in the Outlaw was, oh, God, that was brutal. We had a bunch of mechanical troubles, and we could only race every so often. That's when I really started going with my dad a whole lot more. And then 2019, it would have been the year after that, I went with my dad pretty much like that, almost that whole year, because that was when he was in the Garvin 15K, just racing around home and stuff. And we kind of knew that mom being the crew chief wasn't going to work in this class. It was getting a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
And we did 1 full year in the Outlaw after that. We went everywhere. Right? We went out as far as like Sweet Springs, Missouri. That was probably one of the coolest tracks I've ever raced at. I thought that was awesome. It was like a mini Knoxville for micros. But first year in the 305, we would have done 2 years in the 305, and then we would have got to now with the first full season in a 410, and then obviously we had to mix in some 360 stuff. Maybe not wanting to do that, but yeah, I think I'm in a good spot right now. I think we're me and my dad are in a good spot, and I'm glad to say this. I think we're going to go to Florida, so we'll be able to pick up a lot more races before everyone else, and I think that's going to give our team an advantage heading into 2024.
Nice. That's really cool that you're going to be able to go do that. And I was just curious, the jump from the micro to the 305, was that a big adjustment for you, or was it a bigger adjustment going from the 305 to the 410?
100% the 305 to the 410, and I don't know what it is about the 305, but it always felt kind of, I don't know, like slow motion. And it wasn't that you feel like you're going slow. It was that the micros, oh my gosh, you're just so aggressive and
Sure.
like snap, you're there. Like there's no messing around in a micro. Like people really need to like put some respect on the outlaw wing class in a micro. Like, I mean, 100%. Like I could fall asleep going down the straightaway at Attica in the 305. Like that was kind of my first thought, but I think the jump from the 305 even to the 360 is just that was the complete game changer. And I'm glad I did a year in the 305 for sure, 2 years to learn how to race, because I think that benefited more than maybe just jumping right into a 360 or 410. Like I got a whole bunch of respect for somebody that can do that.
Sure, because you got a bigger car, you're racing on bigger tracks, so just kind of track position and awareness of how a bigger track races or how a bigger car races.
The closing rate, and you don't think of it because you're just, you would think if you could make laps you'd be fine, but the feeling as a 14-year-old kid when some guy comes into the corner and you left the bottom open and he just dives in there and just slides all the way up across your nose, and you got no clue. I mean, that's happened in the micros, but you got a way bigger car. I mean, you can't just turn it off the tail tank and drive underneath them like a micro. You got to really position it and drive it with your feet, and it's just a whole different. It's a whole different ball game. Sprint car racing isn't like anything else, I don't think.
Yeah. Oh no, it's a whole different animal. That's for sure. So going to Florida, I mean that's super cool. You'll be able to get some track time at some new racetracks.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be able to go down. I think we're going to run East Bay, which I'm absolutely pumped about that. I've always wanted to run East Bay. I always loved going there as a kid. And I don't know if they're actually going to close up. I know they say they do every year, but
sure.
I don't know. We'll say they're going to this year. So I definitely want to. That was a lot of motivation too, is getting down and running East Bay. That was one of my dad's favorite tracks, so he for sure wanted to take me down there, and then run some of the USCS stuff in the 360. I think there's a show or two of Volusia down there in the 360, so we'll see how we stack up there. I'm pretty sure our 360 program, engine-wise, I think we'd be able to compete. And I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. Wait till probably PRI time when everybody releases their 410 schedule.
Yeah, no doubt. Everyone is anxiously waiting. I mean, we're getting appetizers a little bit of here. We'll throw you something just to tease tease you and make sure you're not starving, but it's not going to fill you up kind of deal. But I mean, a really cool story about your dad is I remember 06, actually the last time I think the split happened, is he went full-time World of Outlaws, and I remember a lot of people out here were like, who the heck is Chad Kemenah? Like, I'm like, this guy's like really good, because I think at the time he was coming off of winning 4 straight with the All-Stars. And I mean, he's still one of the few guys to do this first, platinum member all outlaw start, and he wins at Volusia. And so I think that really hushed up the critics right away.
Yeah, he had a really good rookie year. I always love going back and reliving all the stats, and I always try to find old videos. I think I might spend more time in the Dirt Vision vault than any other human being. I mean, if I'm bored and I'm sitting on the couch, I'll just go in the Dirt Vision vault and I'll look back at any single old race, and I'll watch how Donnie Schatz raced in 2012, or how Brad Sweet did it 2 or 3 years ago, or even now. I go back, and if I'm going to go somewhere I haven't raced, or I haven't been there all year, and I'll go back. If the Outlaws I show there, I'll go watch that. And I think that's really cool about all the streaming services, is that I have that option. I think like my dad growing up, he would have never had the option to, let's see what Jack Hewitt did at Eldora. There wasn't video of that.
Yeah. I remember
a little bit.
I remember the first time I ever had a conversation with him was at, it was the 360 show at Grays Harbor, and he was just watching. I think he was racing for Hard 8 Racing, maybe at the time. This would have been 2007. And
Hard 8, yeah.
Yeah, and then I just like, oh hey, this is who I am and stuff. And we're just sitting on the back stretch. And I told him I was from Cottage Grove. Well, they were racing Cottage Grove like in a couple
He loves
days.
that place.
And he was asking me, well, how do you get there? Like, this, mind you, smartphones were not a thing, for you young listeners. Like the MapQuest was the, at the time, cutting edge technology. And I just remember having just a pleasant conversation with him. I mean, he, really, really cool, because I think kind of, sprint car drivers in general, especially the outlaws, get a bad stigma attached to them that they're quote unquote stuck up or snooty or whatever, but you have to put yourself in their shoes, that these guys are a long ways away. They're just trying to get to the next race, and they're also in work mode too. But it was kind of cool to see him in leisure mode, with the crew neck sweater and just hanging out at the races, just like we're all fans at the end of the day.
Another guy,
Yeah.
I think he probably takes pride in that, trying to be approachable. Obviously, he grew up at the racetrack in the same way that I did, and I think he would probably tell you that he would for sure take pride in being approachable to any kid that wanted a picture or anything. And obviously, there's a time and a place, and he was always locked in. He's laser focused, and that's me and him when we're at the racetrack. We're laser focused. But I think anytime that some kid is standing next to the car, or you can usually tell if they want to come up and talk to you. Like, I'll usually try to go out of my way to talk to everybody, because I was for sure that kid.
That's good. And yeah, it's, you just got to kind of read the situation. If they're in the work area and they're coming up on at the end of their 2 minutes, don't be asking for an autograph while they're changing a front end. So
for sure.
I'd say probably 10 times out of 10, they're going to say no. So. But, you see that, like when, I'm sure you've seen it when, Tony Stewart would make appearances, or Casey Kane before this is kind of going back when he really didn't race sprint cars at all. He just had his team with Joey Saldana at the time. And, that same weekend that I'm referring to, they had to literally have Grays Harbor County sheriffs guard his, transport, because just mobs of people, and so they weren't able to work on the car because people wanted a picture, wanted an autograph, just all that stuff.
Yeah, I can remember. I'm drawing a blank on this place. It was it had been 2019 Speed Week, in the first year that we were in the Garvin car, and I was pretty much me and my dad that whole Speed Week. I remember Kyle Larson's mom. It was when they had there was a race on Father's Day, and it was just me and my dad. This was at Muskingum, and I was pushing him up, and I think Kyle's mom took a picture of us and put it on Twitter. But we were parked next to him and Paul. I think it was like 2 nights later or something.
Okay.
And it was incredible for me as a kid to watch the swarms of people just piling in, and they don't care. Some of these people don't care who is around. They'll go in someone else's pit to get in line for a Kyle Larson signature.
Sure.
It's a thing. It's crazy.
It's like a rope drop at Disneyland or Disney World. It's like, holy smokes, go over there. We got a line. So yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on the name of that place. They only went there 1 year. It was oh my gosh, I don't know. I can't remember it, but they only went there I think 1 year. There was a big track around the outside, and then there was they half reshaped the track, but used the original front stretch. I don't know. It was crazy. There was I remember there was a 40-minute or hour stoppage in the dash because something happened. I don't know.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. I mean, you and what's cool, I think, about it, and there's people out there that say, like Kyle Larson is, a novelty or whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, he loves sprint car. He legitimately loves dirt track racing, which
he's one of us.
Yeah, he's one of us, and we got to be thankful for that. And what's really cool is he's bringing people that probably would have never came to a sprint car race specifically, or a late model race. And now those people are seeing, oh man, that guy's really good too. Or, this is because you look at it and there's huge storylines in sprint car racing, whether it's a situation like with you, with it's in your family, or a driver that is coming back from a tragedy, got really hurt, or a guy that has been down on his luck and won, or giant slings, we've seen all of that. And 2023, I think, has been super crazy with all the ride switches, and it seems like the 2022 silly season never stopped, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. So,
yeah, I think silly season just decided that it was a forever thing now. Silly season every season.
Yeah, I mean, for some situations, it's like no ride is safe to a certain degree. It's just one of those deals.
And me and my dad have had this whole conversation. As a kid racing, it's super hard if you're, if you don't have somebody behind you to shell out a whole bunch of money, that somebody can just say, all right, well, no matter what, if you suck, we're not going to fire you because somebody's given us $100,000 this year. So you're pretty much penciled in for this whole time. But I mean, if you're not in that situation, that's why me and my dad have made it such a, kind of a goal of ours to get to that Brent Marks, own your own stuff level. And we've had Ohio Logistics come on here in the last 2 years, and Ohio Logistics they're big, and I think they sponsor some World of Outlaw stuff. They've sponsored Greg Wilson for years now, and I think that's going to be a really good partnership to come. And there's some other people that help out a whole bunch, and I mean, we wouldn't be able to do it without all them type of people.
Well, I was just throwing up from my data here. You said 2019 Ohio Sprint Speed Week. Let's see, June 14th, Attica. You said the picture was taken in Zanesville at Muskingum, June 16th. So it says June 19th. What is this? Wayne County, Orville, and then Wayne County on June 22nd.
Was there which ones were the other ones?
Besides Zanesville?
Do you have all of them?
Let's see. Attica, Zanesville were the first two races. It said there were only 4 races that year. So maybe there was a pickup race because it looked like weather played havoc.
Maybe it would have been 2020 then. I thought it was 2019. I don't know. This place it was hole in the wall. It was one of those places you pull in and it's like, yeah, there's not a racetrack back here. There's not a racetrack back here.
Oh, it wasn't PRP, was it? Portsmouth?
No, not Portsmouth. I know of Portsmouth. I've been there.
Let's see here. Brush Creek. That sounds
Creek. That's what it was called.
That sounds exotic. So.
Yes, it was literally a big old pile of brush off the side of some creek. It was exactly what you would think it would be. It was a hole in the wall, like untelevised late model racetrack. Is
sure.
What first came to mind.
Yeah, it's definitely late model country. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So
brush. That's what it's called. Yeah.
And that's not a slam against late model racing, by the way. Just they have a lot of late model races there. So
yeah. So there's late model racing everywhere.
Yeah. Well, besides Florida, you said just kind of waiting to see how the schedules come out, and kind of go from there to see what your guys' schedule going to be. Are you going to run something locally a lot, or all kind of up in the air?
I don't know. I guess I would say the only thing that would be more set in stone than anything is that we're probably not going to commit to one thing. I don't know. Me and my dad have had conversations about this, and he doesn't want me to. We don't want to get into there's points racing, and then there's just racing. And I think right now we need to work on racing.
Sure.
I think we need to go wherever fits us the best at the time. And if you make a commitment, there's pressure that comes with that, and there's the commitment. You have to be liable, and you got to show up at every single race, and you got to represent your team well. And I think right now we just need to be able to kind of pick and choose wherever it's going to be. And like what we've talked about is like maybe instead of running a fast series, I don't know if you've heard of that or not. That's what the high limit guys they're going to help that deal out, I'm assuming. And obviously if they're partnering for Ohio Sprint Week, and how they raise their payout a whole bunch, and it's pretty much the old all-star payout. But I think if you take 20 of the best cars in the country and they go run a World of Outlaw race, now instead of 20 cars, there's only going to be 10 because it's going to split it. So someone like me who might struggle to make a race last year, there might only be the field of the best cars is going to be split in half. So the back half of the races, obviously people are going to have to step up. and I think it'll be easier for us to make an outlaw show or a high limit show rather than maybe last year or year before that.
And I mean, when you think about it, it will for your case, it will make you better. So I mean, you're a big benefactor.
That's the only thing to answer, yeah. And it's not that an outlaw show is never going to be easy to make. It's more just, kind of figuratively. I think you can understand what I mean when I say that is there's not a race in the country that's easy as a walk in the park. I mean, it's every man for himself. It's a grueling sport, and I think that's in kind of all walks of racing.
Yeah, and I mean, I totally get what you're saying. It kind of increases your odds to make in the show, because that's the ultimate goal, is just make the feature, and that is a tall order, whether it's high limit or World of Outlaws, or even some local stuff in Ohio too. I mean,
we ran fourth at the last race of the year at Attica. We started second maybe, and I'm gonna be honest, that's probably the hardest we've ever raced. Like, I raced my butt off, and it was only, I think, $700 for fourth. So then if I go run an outlaw show, it might be $700 for probably 15th or 16th. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that's kind of the gap I would say. And it's not right now, it might not be all payout for a team like us, just because we need to be just racing and get as many races as we can in. And I think that's kind of what it comes down to, is just getting as much experience as we can right now while everything's going to be opened up with the split.
For sure. I mean, as long as it benefits, I'm all for it. If all it does is benefit, if it doesn't, then that's not what the sport needs.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't. I know a lot of people have been saying it lately that it would kill local racing, or kind of there'd be no jumper regional series. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think everybody has an opinion, and
I think it's too early to tell too.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have to wait till the schedules come out to make our assumptions.
Yes, most definitely. Well, as far as when the schedule comes out, or for people to follow along with your race results, or if they want to get apparel from you to support your race team, what's the best avenue? Social media, or is there a website that folks can visit?
Yeah, we got all of our social medias. I think all of our social medias, except Twitter, are just Creed Kemenah Racing. I know Twitter is maybe CKR15K. I'm pretty sure it's got to be a smaller handle, but we have a website. It's just creedkemenah.com or Creed Kemenah Racing. If you look it up, it'll pop up there. We have shirts on there. We have some shirts from this past year, and then we have shirts from the year before. So yeah, for sure, go check that out if you're bored on the day and you want a racing T-shirt. I think there's some cool stuff on there about our sponsors, maybe a little bio.
And then as far as sponsors, at Ohio Logistics, who are some other, individuals? I mean, you can thank your parents, of course, but sponsors that are helping fund the team are coming back in 2024?
Yeah, for sure. I think, obviously, top of the line, it'd have to be mom and dad and grandpa and, everybody in my family. But for sure, Ohio Logistics, Madison Motors, Redline Welding. We got a whole bunch of different guys. Obviously, my grandpa, Hampshire Racing Engines, which that's the engine portion of it. I guess I don't want to forget anybody. I'll look here.
No worries.
I don't want to leave anybody out. I'll grab up a picture of the race car real quick.
No, you're totally fine.
Doug Berryman Racing Shocks. I know that. Bart Rader, Banshee Graphics. Bruffy, I would say I gotta thank Bruffy, Adam Bruff. He's the dude that went with my dad pretty much his whole time out on the Outlaws. Noah West. I think a lot of it's family driven for sure.
Awesome.
Jesse Hines, that's one to thank. Jesse's pretty much done our engines, obviously out of the Hampshire shop, out of my grandpa's shop, but Jesse's been the one doing a lot of the man work and assembling them. He does great work. He really does.
Well, this has just been a delightful time to get to know you, Creed, and I'm really looking forward to see what the future holds for you. I hope today is a wonderful day for you as it continues to be your birthday, And we'll definitely be checking in. I definitely want to get a hold of you next year, or maybe before the season ends next year, to just kind of have a bit of a progress report and see how things are going.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me on here. This is definitely, I would say this is probably my favorite interview I've done to date. This one was really cool.
This episode is a production of Highside Racing Promotions. Be sure to like the YouTube as well as Facebook page and like these videos. The more likes and the more attention it gets, and we would like to get as much information out to the racing community. Whenever or wherever you're watching these episodes, we hope that you enjoyed them